The following is a clip from Kentucky Sports Radio, which airs Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to noon on stations throughout Kentucky and streaming on iHeartRadio. To hear the entire episode, download the podcast on the iHeartRadio app.
Everybody's very excited, so let's just start with this. I'm sure you've been asked this a bunch, but you made a decision to return to Lexington. People here are very excited, but for you, why was it you decided to do that?
I just think as a family, we missed the college game. There was a lot of things about the pro game that is intriguing. There's a lot of things about the college game that are exciting as well. But at the end of the day, as a family, Ashley and I, we really missed it. We missed Lexington. We missed, the pageantry of college football. We missed the relationships of college football. And at the end of the day, we decided it was time to come back.
I'll let the NFL people ask you about the Rams stuff, but let's talk about Kentucky. When you were here, I remember when I first met you, you and I talked, and you said, this is really different than what I'm used to. And then you got over the course of the year, and I think during the course of the year of doing the college game and working with Will and Wandale, et cetera, I think you really grew to probably like it. Liam, is it fair to say even more than you thought you would?
I would think so, Matt. In terms of, I was always in the college game, but I had never obviously been at that level of college football prior to coming to Kentucky. I was a small level, school college coach and then a pro coach. So getting through that process of, developing high level players, I had really never done that. I had some pros that I had coached throughout the college ranks prior, but those were kind of, an anomaly, if you will, at those schools. To be around guys that are first and second round picks, high level football players, and also a place that was, supported at a high level from the athletics department, from the coaching staff, from the financial people. That was something that I'd never been a part of. Like, to walk in the facility and see that, you should look at the Rams facility compared to the Kentucky facility, and it's crazy. So I would never been a part of anything like that, the development of high-level players and the commitment to football. So I was really excited about that, and it was fun to be a part of.
All right, well, let me ask you a little bit about now that on your second time around. When you came last time, you sort of brought with you a kid named Will Levis that we didn't know. We went back and listened to some of our conversations when that name popped up, and we were like, well, who's this guy? And obviously now he's going to be a top 10 draft pick. I would assume with Devin Leary, he wouldn't have come here without knowing you, and you wouldn't have wanted him to come here without knowing him. So explain to me when you saw Will, same thing with Devin Leary. What are you seeing with this kid coming next year? Obvious potential coming off of an injury he had this past season, which is something that we have to work through. But the leadership capabilities as a quarterback, I feel like at Kentucky specifically, you have to have a little bit of different moxie in your neck. You just have to have something a little bit different to you. And he's a South Jersey kid that has a ton of swagger, that was named a captain early on in his career at NC State. He's the type of kid that can get along with all different, shapes of, walks of life. He's just a leader. He's got that kind of that it factor that you look for in a personality. And then, by the way, people forget he was I think he was like 35-5 touchdown to interception ratio 2 years ago. So really excited about the way that he's going to be able to throw the football naturally, the decision making, taking care of the football, but also the leadership qualities that Devin possesses. You can see some of the parallels with Will in terms of the maturity, although very different players and people. There's a lot of parallels in terms of some of the makeup and characteristics that make them great. Well, we've now seen 2 years of Will, so actually I think it would be helpful for people to sort of know what they're getting. What are the differences in as players? Like what's the difference between the two guys?
Will being, built like an Adonis, I guess you could say. My wife would always, I'm like, stop, you can't stare at him like that, Ashley. Just built differently, he's
he's just built like Thor. And so many of those guys, he could endure so many hits and played the game so physical. You had to try to kind of reel him in from taking hits and being physical, but really it helped make him part of what made him great. Will was an extremely violent thrower of the football as well. I mean, he would throw a comeback at 25 yards on an absolute rope. He would throw a dig cut like that. I mean, he could throw the ball 70 yards. Now, Devin, not as big, not built quite the same. Maybe a little bit, has some athleticism, but it's more so within the pocket, can expand plays, extend plays, do some different things with his legs that way. But he's also an extremely accurate and also powerful thrower of the football. The ball jumps off his hand, like you saw, some of the things that, we were excited about with Will. I think Devin's been in a more pro or pass happy or pass friendly offense, and the experiences that he's had are a little bit different than Will. Will was a running quarterback at Penn State. They tried to make him, right? We gave him an opportunity to throw the football. I mean, maybe not as much as Devin has, but that's just different experiences that I think will help Devin when he does come here and tries to, be a little bit more of a pro-style offense.
Let me ask you, I mean, I know you don't want to be critical at all of last year, and I'm not asking you to do that. But when you saw sort of the struggles last year, to the extent you got to see them, you maybe didn't get to see them while you were doing the Ram stuff, but you probably watched the tape now. What do you think are the things that you looked at and you said, okay, we've got to improve that in order to make strides next year?
I think the efficiency in running the football and protecting the quarterback. I think those are two things that, we need to kind of, we need to get back to, evaluate, develop, work on. I think those two things, and also developing those young receivers, that young receiver room that everybody's extremely excited about. I'm excited about, was a part of some of those guys recruiting. So I was really excited about those guys. They had a nice, good freshman year. A couple of those guys, Dane and Barryon, but now we need to see those guys take the next step in their development. And I think they're poised and ready to do that. But that'll be something we work on throughout this spring and off season. But number one priority really is, if it's 3rd and 1, we're going to run the football and get a yard. And we don't want to even think twice about it. When it comes to protecting the quarterback, we have one of the better quarterbacks, arguably in the country. Coming off an injury, we need to protect him at all costs. And those are two things that need to get fixed, and ultimately, I think they will.
You talk about the receivers. You had Wandell when you were here, obviously, and Josh Ali had a successful career. But at least on my mind, we have not had physical specimens quite like Barry Brown and Dane Key since I've been following Kentucky football. And then you got a slot guy like Tavion Robinson. You got guys like DeKel Crowdis. I know there are freshmen coming in that are really good.
Yeah.
And then the tight end room with Dingle and Caddis, and you got to be pretty excited about those weapons, right?
Totally. Yes. I mean, like you mentioned, coming in to Kentucky, the first time I was really excited, knew the offensive line, the big blue wall was, very much intact. That was what we were going to essentially run our offense through. We were going to run the football, match protect, try to push the ball down the field a little bit, but we were going to still be a run-first offense with T-Rod, the O-line, Justin Rigg, the way that it was sort of set up. You mentioned Josh Ali. How about him? He just got activated, I think, last week for a game. I saw him when we played the Falcons. I couldn't be more proud of a human being than Josh Ali, man.
I didn't know that. Who activated him?
Falcons.
I did not know that. Good for him. Good for him.
He's been with the Falcons all year. I mean, I can't be more proud of somebody than Josh Ali. But, it was built, like you mentioned, Matt, it was built a little bit differently. Now that we have, some of the skill players that you mentioned, really excited about those guys. The development of them will be key and critical throughout this spring. Getting a ton of chemistry with these quarterbacks, but like you mentioned, Matt, the receiver room and the tight end room, you got to feel excited about and feel good about being able to do some different things personnel-wise, move guys around, and be able to have some fun this spring and see what happens.
Well, I know people are excited to have fun with the team. All right, I got to ask you this. This is going to be a question that I get asked all the time. People loved having you here and understand you're a coach kind of on the rise. I mean, do you expect – I know offensive coordinators. I know people want to be head coaches. But you understand There's been a lot of turnover at this position. Do you expect to be at this job? I know you signed a 3-year contract through the extent of it.
I do, Matt. This is, my first stint with the Rams. I was there for 3 years, and that was really the longest I had ever been anywhere. As you're trying to continue to climb and really work the ranks of the profession and get to ultimately where you want to go. I was an assistant position coach that last time, right? I was not even a position coach. Get hired at Kentucky, have the opportunity to go back to the Rams, in the NFL as one of 32 people in the world. And that was an opportunity that I don't think a lot of people would have passed up. But going through that experience, missing what we missed in Lexington in the college game, and the ability to kind of process, okay, what do we want to do next? We would like to be a head coach at some point. Well, I can be a head coach from Lexington, Kentucky. We can get to where we want to go in our dreams, which is being a head football coach at the college level at some point. And we really want to plant some roots and try to just enjoy somewhere for a few years and really get involved in the community as much as possible, involved in these players in this place, and try to enjoy our time.
All right, I'll give you 2 quick questions, then we'll get you out. Number 1, Will Levis is going to probably be in a battle with Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud to be the first pick. You know him as good as anybody. Give the case for Will Levis at the next level.
I mean, if you want your boy next door, the kind of guy that's going to come in and be able to dominate a locker room at a mature level, that his best football is way ahead of him. I firmly believe that Will's best football is going to be ahead of him in the professional game. I think he's going to be able to really soar. I mean, and explode. I think that the game is set up very much for his skill set. He's going to be able to come in, talk the language, call plays, audible plays, do all the things that NFL quarterbacks must do. There's no NFL quarterbacks except for Kyler Murray for the most part that stand in the shotgun every snap, look over to the sidelines, and get a play. Nobody does that in the NFL. So he'll be able to do all the things that each quarterback is being asked to do on all 32 teams. And, by the way, he can throw the heck out of the football and run it too. So I think it's a no-brainer.
And then finally, I want you to give a message to the Big Blue Nation. All the fans that, were frustrated with the offense this year and inability to move the ball, tell them what they're going to see next year with you in charge.
At the end of the day, Matt, this is going to look different. It's not going to be 2021. The standards, the philosophy, the way that we might do business around the building and meet and practice, those standards and expectations will be very similar. But the way that we look, the way that we operate during the game, that might look a little bit different. We're going to need to be able to work and adjust to our personnel. So, and at the end of the day, what happened last year is on all of us. 2021, the standard dropped. And that's on every single coach and player in that building. It's on me as well. I'm a part of it. And we need to get it fixed. But we're committed to getting it fixed. We're committed to getting it right and putting the product on the film and on the field that everybody's proud of and excited to go watch.
Liam Coen, excited to have you back. Look forward to when you get to Lexington. Thanks for getting up early on the West Coast for us, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
I appreciate it, Matt. Thanks for having me.
All right, there you go, Liam Coen. The Kentucky Chamber's offering the first ever one-stop listing of minority-owned businesses. If you're looking to diversify vendors you work with and provide resources for minority-owned businesses, go to the Kentucky Minority-Owned Business Database, mbdky.com. That's mbdky.com. Minority-owned and Kentucky grown. We'll take a break. We're here at